When most people think about Taiwan, they think of the 101, bubble tea, and amazing night markets. But just 50 years ago, Taiwan was a brutal military dictatorship known for various atrocities such as the 228 incident. The regime has also been responsible for assassinations abroad on foreign soil, making Taiwan sound more like North Korea than what it is today. The Taiwanese could never really feel fully secure. While the Sino-American Defense Treaty guaranteed the US's protection, those in Taiwan were rightfully nervous, especially after the Taiwan Strait crises in 1954 and 1958. The US was an ocean away, but the People's Republic of China, the enemy, was just 100 miles across the strait. So it is natural that the military dictatorship would eventually push for the ultimate protection, a nuclear weapon. In this video, we look at Taiwan's push for a nuclear weapon. Imagine what might have happened had they gotten one. Research began roughly in the late 1950s. Right from the beginning, Taiwan wanted nuclear weapons from the United States. They asked for one in the same way as with the People's Republic of China, who requested a knowledge transfer from their close partner, the Soviet Union. Before the time of anti-proliferation movements and treaties, there was a period where a country could possibly get the bomb. Starting with in 1957, the Soviet Union provided advisors and a prototype bomb that would eventually result in the PRC's first successful nuclear detonation. China's detonation, happening in the early 1960s, naturally freaked out everyone in Taiwan, and the premier at the time, Chiang Ching-kuo, moved towards developing their own nuclear weapons. For its part, the US never gave Taiwan any nuclear information, saying that it was not necessary because Taiwan was protected by its security umbrella. But these assurances were not making the Taiwanese feel any better because the US and the PRC were getting closer diplomatically, paving a road towards full normalization. If the US decides to embrace the PRC as China's rightful representative, then what would happen to Taiwan? To add to the angst, Richard Nixon advocating getting closer and closer to China, needing Chinese support for his main strategic goal of getting the US out of the Vietnam War. His articles and writings pushed Taiwan further towards developing a nuclear weapon. And to make things worse, as they got closer, they got more distant from Taiwan, resulting in a full withdrawal of American troops stationed on the island, as well as a removal of US-owned and US-stationed nuclear weapons. It started getting to the point that the US was hardly responding to Taiwan's calls, even for things as simple as a commitment to Taiwanese security. Such actions have repercussions, and I think people expecting a country, a military dictatorship especially, to simply accept matters as they are and walk away are grievously mistaken. Taiwan decides that if they cannot trust the United States, then they need to get the bomb. In 1966, they started the Chung-Shan Institute for Science and Technology, the institution that would be the cover organization for this development. $140 million was invested in this push. So in 1969, Taiwan buys a small 40-megawatt research reactor from Canada called the Taiwan Research Reactor, or the TRR. It's the same type that India used to refine the plutonium that they would eventually use for their first nuclear bomb. They also start working on other facilities such as a plant and a number of processing facilities. It is fueled by natural uranium purchased from various sources, and research begins to start turning that uranium into plutonium, a crucial nuclear bomb component. To push these efforts, Taiwan reaches out to various countries to purchase reprocessing capability. The US thwarts these different approaches, but Taiwan persists, speaking to organizations in West Germany, Belgium, France, and then again in the Netherlands. You see, the US has been tipped off first by various spies within Taiwan, but also by a realization that the research reactor that they purchased from Canada was not being used for research after all. The US has a lot of leverage over Taiwan. After all, Taiwan relies heavily on US military and economic support for its growth. However, even with all this leverage, Taiwan went again and again back to the program. Jiang and his associates would say again and again to various American officials that they had no intention to build the bomb. Yet, evidence would emerge proving that those assertions were a lie. It finally took until 1987 before Taiwan's nuclear program was shut down for good. Immense pressure, the public embarrassment falling out from a CIA informant defecting to the United States, and a written guarantee from President Lee Teng-hui in the end was what it took. In 1995, he publicly announced that Taiwan, quote-unquote, has the ability to develop nuclear weapons, but will definitely not. Taiwan shipped all of its plutonium and heavy water to the United States and shut down its research reactor for good. There is a lot of debate as to how close Taiwan actually was to the bomb. The CIA defector who publicly revealed the program claims that they were a year or so away as of 1987. That seems rather unlikely, but there isn't much information out there to contradict him. Today, the country has 6 nuclear reactors. These reactors are in 3 plants in Xinshan, Foshan, and Manshan, providing about 1/8 of all the power in the country. Assessments by the Nuclear Threat Initiative find that Taiwan is probably today 1 to 8 years away from a bomb. But then that bomb has to be put on a missile or some sort of delivery mechanism. That would take a lot longer. It is unlikely then that they would have the time nor the political will to do something like that. Because for Taiwan to race for the bomb today would be an extraordinary risk that they will probably lose. The PRC never gave up the threat of using military force against the country, and the PRC's constitution explicitly makes going for nuclear weapons an uncrossable red line. They will attack if they get wind of it. And when the PRC is to try to invade from the mainland, then Taiwan's own military studies find that they would not be able to hold out for more than a month. Basically, Taiwan's entire military strategy is to sit and pray for intervention from the United States. If word got out, which could happen very easily considering the country's thriving press and supposedly deeply infiltrated government/military, then the consequences would be devastating. Not to mention that Taiwan today is no longer a one-party military dictatorship. One of the reasons that the CIA defector did what he did was that he was afraid that if Taiwan had nuclear weapons, then they would be seized by the military or certain political factions within Taiwan for their own uses, whatever they might be. But today Taiwan is a democracy, and nuclear power has been immensely unpopular with the people ever since Fukushima. For example, there were plans to build 2 more nuclear reactors, but popular protests forced those plans to be scrapped in 2014. The current Taiwanese president, her party, has a stated goal to shut down all the reactors for good. So in conclusion, Taiwan put an immense amount of resources and efforts towards building a nuclear weapon. But the country seems to have put those efforts behind themselves. Their focus, based on the President Tsai Ing-wen's economic plan, is on developing renewable energy, AI, and it seems submarines. Taiwan's nuclear window has closed for better or worse, and is unlikely to open again.